Most people don't lose in life because they lack intelligence or opportunity. They lose because they're held hostage by emotional people who've mastered the art of making their chaos everyone else's problem. You've seen it, the coworker who weaponizes tears to avoid accountability, the partner who turns every disagreement into a referendum on your character, the friend who makes you feel guilty for having boundaries. These people don't play by logic or fairness. They play by emotion. And if you try to meet them on their terms, you've already lost. Here's the uncomfortable truth that neither modern psychology nor self-help wants to tell you. Some people are emotional terrorists, and compassion without strategy is just another word for victimhood. The Stoics understood this 2,000 years ago. They lived under tyrants, navigated court intrigue, and dealt with the same manipulative personalities we face today. And Machiavelli, writing in the blood-soaked world of Renaissance politics, he saw clearly what most people refuse to acknowledge. Emotion is a weapon, and those who wield it consciously will always dominate those who experience it unconsciously. If you're tired of being manipulated by emotional volatility, if you're exhausted from walking on eggshells around people who turn everything into a crisis, stay with me. Subscribe to this channel because we don't deal in feel-good platitudes. We explore the dark psychology, the hidden frameworks, and the ruthless strategies that the Stoics and strategic thinkers used to maintain power and peace in a world designed to break them. Hit that bell, because what we're about to go through will change how you handle every emotional manipulator in your life. Let's start with the first law, and it's the one that most people violate every single day. Never justify yourself to someone in an emotional state. When someone is angry, crying, or spiraling into victimhood, they're not listening to you. They're not capable of processing logic or reason in that moment. Their amygdala has hijacked their prefrontal cortex. Neuroscience backs this up. When someone is emotionally flooded, their ability to think rationally drops to almost zero. So when you try to explain yourself, defend your position, or reason with them, you're wasting your breath. Worse, you're feeding the fire. Epictetus taught his students a principle that sounds harsh but is liberating. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. He meant that your actions should speak, not your justifications. When you justify yourself to someone who's emotionally dysregulated, you're implicitly agreeing that their emotional state gives them authority over you. You're saying their feelings are more valid than your boundaries. And emotional manipulators sense this immediately. They learn that all they have to do is escalate emotionally and you'll bend. You'll explain. You'll apologize for things you didn't do. The first law is simple. State your position once, clearly and calmly, then go silent. Let them feel whatever they're going to feel. It's not your job to manage their emotional experience. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." But he also understood that not every trial is worth engaging. Some people create friction not to polish you but to drain you. The emotional person who makes everything about them, who turns every conversation into a therapy session they're not paying you for, who demands your time, energy, and validation without reciprocity, this is not a trial that perfects you. It's a trap that depletes you. And the Stoic response is not cruelty. It's detachment. The second law is darker and more Machiavellian. Let them think they've won while you secure what actually matters. Emotional people crave validation and the appearance of victory more than they care about substance. They want to feel heard, to feel right, to feel powerful. And here's the strategic brilliance. You can give them that feeling while protecting your actual interests. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see but few can feel." People see what they want to see. They feel victorious when you let them have the last word, when you nod and say, "You're right," even if nothing actually changes in your behavior. This isn't weakness, it's strategy. When you're dealing with someone who's emotionally manipulative, arguing with them is pointless. They're not trying to reach understanding. They're trying to dominate the emotional space. So you let them have that space. You agree superficially, you validate their feelings, you say what they need to hear. And then you do what you were going to do anyway. Your boundaries remain intact, your plans proceed, your life continues on your terms. They got their emotional win. You got your actual win. Everyone walks away satisfied, but only you walk away free. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. He was the emperor of Rome, surrounded by senators, advisors, and family members who all had agendas, who all wanted something from him, who all tried to manipulate him through emotion, guilt, or pressure. And in his private writings, he reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He couldn't control their emotions or demands, but he could control his response. He could smile, nod, and then retire to his private chambers and do exactly what his principles demanded. The third law builds on this: never reveal your strategy to emotional people. They will use it against you. We talked earlier about how you let them have their emotional victory while you secure what matters. But if you explain that strategy, if you say, "I'm just agreeing with you to end this argument," you've destroyed the entire approach. Emotional manipulators are often more intelligent than we give them credit for. They're not stupid, they're strategic in their own way. And if they understand your game, they'll adapt. They'll escalate. They'll find new ways to trap you. This is where Machiavelli's hidden wisdom becomes crucial. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." Your internal strategy, your true motivations, your actual boundaries, these are for you alone. Maybe you share them with a trusted few who've earned that intimacy. But the emotional manipulator? They get the performance. They get the version of you that keeps the peace while protecting your interests. This isn't dishonesty. It's self-preservation in a world where honesty is often punished and boundaries are treated as aggression. The fourth law is about emotional mirroring, and this is where psychology meets ancient wisdom. When someone is emotional, they're often looking for you to either join them in that emotion or fight against it. Either response gives them power. If you join them, you've entered their reality. If you fight them, you've validated that their emotion matters enough to combat. The Stoic move, the move that Machiavelli would appreciate, is to do neither. You mirror their intensity without mirroring their emotion. What does this look like practically? When someone is angry, you don't get angry back. You don't get defensive, but you also don't become weak or apologetic. You match their energy with calm intensity. You speak firmly but without emotion. You maintain eye contact. You hold your ground physically and psychologically. This confuses the emotional manipulator because you're not playing either expected role. You're not weak, so they can't steamroll you. You're not reactive, so they can't escalate with you. You're simply present, calm, and immovable. Epictetus taught his students to practice this daily. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Every emotional attack, every guilt trip, every attempt at manipulation is a chance to practice this law. You feel the emotion trying to rise in you, the anger, the guilt, the need to defend yourself, and you observe it like a scientist observing a chemical reaction. Interesting, you think. They're trying to make me angry. Let's see what happens if I don't take the bait. And in that moment of observation, you've already won. Because you've separated yourself from the automatic reaction that emotional people count on. The fifth law is perhaps the most counterintuitive. Show empathy, but never sympathy. There's a critical difference that most people miss. Empathy is understanding someone's emotional state. Sympathy is taking on their emotional burden. When you're empathetic, you say, "I understand you're upset." When you're sympathetic, you say, "You're right to be upset. Let me fix this for you." The emotional manipulator wants sympathy. They want you to own their feelings, to take responsibility for their emotional experience, to change your behavior to accommodate their volatility. But the Stoic, the person who understands Machiavelli's hidden wisdom, gives empathy without sympathy. You acknowledge their emotion without accepting responsibility for it. "I see that you're angry. That must be difficult for you." Notice the language. It's compassionate but boundaried. You're not saying their anger is justified. You're not saying you caused it. You're simply acknowledging its existence. This is the ruthless compassion we'll explore more deeply in another context, but here it serves a specific purpose. It disarms the emotional manipulator while maintaining your sovereignty. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Emotional people live in their imagination. They catastrophize, they mind read, they create narratives where everyone is against them and everything is a crisis. And they want you to live in that imagination with them. The Stoic response is to stay grounded in reality. You don't argue with their imagined scenarios. You simply refuse to enter them. That's one interpretation. You might say, "Here's what actually happened." You bring them back to facts, to observable reality, to what can be verified rather than what can be felt. The sixth law is about strategic retreat, and this is where people often mistake Stoicism for passivity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." He didn't say engage with him. He didn't say defeat him in argument. He said be unlike him. Sometimes the most powerful move is to simply remove yourself from the battlefield. When someone is emotionally manipulating you, sometimes the answer isn't to fight smarter or build better defenses. It's to walk away, to remove access, to end the relationship. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote about how a prince must know when to fight and when to retreat, when to engage and when to simply remove the threat by removing proximity. You don't owe emotional vampires your presence. You don't owe manipulators your time. And the moment you realize that walking away is an option, is in fact often the best option, you reclaim enormous power. Because they've been counting on your sense of obligation, your guilt, your fear of being seen as cold or uncaring. But what they call coldness, the Stoics called wisdom. Here's the psychological reality. Some people cannot be reasoned with. Some people are so committed to their emotional patterns that no amount of boundaries, strategies, or compassion will change them. They will drain you, manipulate you, and leave you exhausted, and they'll feel perfectly justified doing so. The seventh and final law addresses this directly. Accept that some people are emotional black holes, and your job is not to fix them but to protect yourself from them. This is where modern culture has failed us. We've been taught that everyone deserves endless chances, that walking away is cruel, that setting hard boundaries makes you the bad guy. But Epictetus taught something different. He said, "Keep company with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." He didn't say tolerate everyone. He didn't say sacrifice yourself on the altar of other people's dysfunction. He said choose your company wisely, because you become like those you spend time with. The emotional manipulator will tell you that you're cold, that you're abandoning them, that you're the problem. Let them. Their opinion of you is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to your own peace, your own growth, your own principles. And sometimes protecting those things means accepting that certain people cannot be in your life, not because you hate them, but because you love yourself more than you fear their judgment. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." In the context of emotional manipulation, This translates to, it is better to be respected for your boundaries than liked for your compliance. The emotional person will not like you when you stop feeding their patterns. They'll push harder. They'll escalate. They'll try every trick in their arsenal to pull you back in. And this is the test. This is where you prove whether you've truly internalized these 7 laws or whether they were just interesting ideas. Let me bring this home. We've walked through 7 dark Stoic laws. Never justify yourself to emotional people. Let them think they've won while securing what matters. Never reveal your strategy. Mirror intensity without mirroring emotion. Show empathy but never sympathy. Know when to strategically retreat. And accept that some people are beyond your help. These aren't cruel principles. They're protective ones. They're the armor you wear in a world where emotional manipulation is currency and boundaries are treated as violence. The Stoics lived through wars, plagues, and tyrants. Machiavelli navigated courts where one wrong word could mean execution. They developed these principles not from theory but from survival. From the recognition that the world is not kind to the emotionally undefended. And while we may not face literal tyrants today, we face something equally dangerous. A culture that rewards emotional manipulation and punishes emotional discipline. These 7 laws are your defense, your shield, your way of moving through a world of emotional chaos while maintaining your inner fortress. If these laws resonated with you, if you recognize the patterns we've discussed in your own life, subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And most importantly, start practicing these laws today. Not tomorrow. Not when the next crisis happens. Today, because the emotional manipulators in your life are already playing by these rules, even if they don't know they are. It's time you learned the game so you can stop losing it. Thank you for walking this path with me.